Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this session of our 2021 Virtual Outdoor Expo presented by the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission. We are giving these virtual sessions on Facebook this week, and a schedule of our remaining events for the week is available on the Facebook page. Just search further down the feed. My name is Mike Parker, Communications Director for the agency, and this afternoon we're excited to bring you an opportunity to meet the Executive Director of the Fish and Boat Commission, Mr. Tim Schaefer. And Tim, welcome to I guess we'll say the session here. It's almost like a podcast or a show. So welcome to the show.
Great. Whatever it is, I'm happy to be here.
All right. Thank you for being here. As a reminder to anyone who's watching us as we stream live on Facebook this afternoon, your questions and comments for Director Schaefer are welcomed. We're going to get to as many of those relevant questions as we can as we talk over the next 45 minutes or so. Remember, though, you can find answers to many frequently asked questions about fishing and boating topics across Pennsylvania just by visiting our website, which is fishandboat.com. All right, so to kick things off, well, Tim, I guess a lot of people know who you are. You travel the state, go to meetings, and normally this time of year you'd be spending some time at a booth at various outdoor expos, but here we are doing this virtually. I guess we should start off by just giving a little bit about your background, let people know who are you.
Sure. Well, again, thanks everybody for tuning in all week to the sessions that we're doing. So I'm a kid from Pennsylvania who grew up in the streams, creeks and rivers of Pennsylvania, fishing, turning over rocks when I was younger. Previous to this position, I worked for the agency for about 10 years as policy and planning director. And in between that job and this one, I had a stint as deputy secretary of the Department of Environmental Protection. Before that, worked for a statewide nonprofit conservation organization. So I have a pretty broad background when it comes to environmental policy here in Pennsylvania and what it takes to get big things implemented on the ground.
All right, so here you are at the Fish and Boat Commission. So obviously you have a passion for fishing and boating. Let's start with a couple of questions just about the status of fishing and boating across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Basically, we know that because of the COVID-19 pandemic, there's been a lot more participation in all outdoor activities, fishing, boating, hunting, hiking, all around. In Pennsylvania, though, your role is managing the aquatic resources. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the status of fishing and boating and that increased participation.
Sure. So nationwide, as you said, there was really an uptick in outdoor recreation beginning last March when people really were looking for different things to do. We're really delighted that they chose to fish and boat in just unbelievable numbers. Here in Pennsylvania, our statistics actually were ahead of the national average in terms of people coming back to the water. We had a 20% increase in fishing license sales, saw participation rates that we haven't seen since the mid-90s. On the boating side, we saw our launch permits, which are required to launch a canoe or kayak at state-owned launches, we saw them go up by about 40%. So all over the Commonwealth, anywhere you looked last summer, you saw people out there enjoying themselves on the water. And we expect the same thing this year. There have been some improvements here with the indicators of human health and safety here this spring, but we are still in the midst of the pandemic. And we know that people are going to be turning to the water for their outdoor recreation this summer.
So what are some of the benefits? Because as we talk about, there's the same amount of streams, there's the same amount of lakes and rivers, but more people enjoying them. I think I would preface that by saying, is there plenty of room? And there's probably a lot of positives associated with having more people out there.
Yeah, there's more than enough room. And I said this summer, but frankly, we've got people out that are ice fishing as we speak. I mean, I'm looking out my window right now to a snow-covered landscape. It's really all year long that people are rediscovering the outdoors. And, the benefits of that are multifold. First of all, if you're on the water, whether you're fishing or boating, you're going to develop an appreciation for that resource and become more mindful of the stewardships needed to keep that clean water clean. So that's a really terrific benefit, developing that conservation ethic in the next generation of anglers. I've said since last spring, sportsmen are the original conservationists, and it's no secret that across the country we were seeing declines in numbers of people fishing in terms of people hunting. And last summer was a real shot in the arm for that. The terms in the vernacular in the industry are R3, recruitment, retention, and reactivation of anglers. And we had a lot of people get reactivated last year. So our goal this year is to see how we can retain those people, help them to have an enjoyable experience, connect with the water, and come back again in 2021 and beyond.
So another big topic on the table right now has to do with the upcoming trout season. It's right around the corner. In fact, at this time next week, crews will be all across the state with the great white fleet of stocking trucks beginning to stock the waters all across the Commonwealth. Mm-hmm. At the January meeting of the Fish and Boat Commission, it was announced, though, that there will be several changes to the 2021 trout season, which includes an earlier start to stocking, consolidating the schedule into a single statewide schedule. So what that means is we'll have a single statewide mentored youth trout fishing day on Saturday, March 27th, and then a single statewide opening day of trout season on Saturday, April 3rd. Mm-hmm. If you wouldn't mind, Tim, would you go through some of the decisions, some of the reasons behind those changes, and some other things that anglers should know as we get closer to trout season?
Sure, I'd be happy to. And so the decisions that we made, we did in cooperation with the Department of Health, with the governor's office, our partners at the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, where we stock more fish than anywhere in Pennsylvania. Just like last year, we're really first and foremost mindful of public health and safety. Last trout season, really, I mean, the world started falling apart as we were about to get ready for opening day. We all know how special opening day is in Pennsylvania. And last year, because of the concern of the crowding as opening day was hitting, we made the decision to open the season in the middle of the week to spread out that fishing pressure. That worked, and we really were able to give people a great fishing experience without being on top of each other as much as they normally would have been. You know, not knowing what the world's going to look like this March or April, we wanted to give people plenty of time to plan ahead. So the decision to have a single statewide opener, again, that'll allow for the fishing pressure to get spread out. We'll minimize the travel. We'll allow people that opening day experience on their local waters like they're used to and like they've always enjoyed. Another thing about opening with a single opening day, so we would have had, opening day would have been on the 3rd of April in southeastern PA, and then 2 weeks later in the rest of the state. By opening the whole state on the 3rd, we're giving people 2 more weeks of trout season. We know that schedules are different this year. We know that people are working remotely. We know that school schedules are different, and people have a lot more time on their hands to get out and enjoy trout season. It's not just about, maybe a single day on opening day. Schedules are such that, a Wednesday afternoon or a Tuesday morning, people can get out. So by opening up 2 weeks early, we'll have that traditional opening day experience, spread out the fishing pressure, and frankly, give people 2 more weeks of the season that they love.
So let's talk about how stocking will work this year. You mentioned the opening days changing, and stocking is going to kick off 2 weeks earlier, which means typically on March 1st, that's when the crews start going out and distributing trout into more than 700 streams, over 120 lakes. There's a lot of stream sections and bodies of water across the state that are stocked with trout. And if it's designated as a stocked trout water, those waters are typically closed from March 1st through the opening of trout season, or on that one-day mentored youth trout fishing day for the region. Let's talk about how that's going to work this year, given that we're going to start stocking on February 15th, and what that means for those waters and some other opportunities that are being made available in exchange.
Yeah, so I got to say this, Mike. I can see the B-roll that you're rolling, and I'm pretty sure I just saw a guy that I go to church with. I haven't been to church in a long time, given the circumstances, but that was.
You have a good eye, because that is the this video I happen to know is the Yellow Breeches in New Cumberland on opening day.
Yeah, I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah, I recognize that place, and I think I know that guy. So that was fun. So thank you for that. So with our trout stocking schedules, one of the things that's going to be different this year that we're going back to, that we're happy to do, is publishing those stocking schedules online. Again, last year, as everything was hitting at the midst of our trout season, we wanted to avoid crowding at specific spots. We think this year, we know that people have become accustomed to social distancing. That image of a fishing rod's length apart was widely adopted. We thought of it here in Pennsylvania, and it's sort of spread like wildfire around the country. But we wanted to give people some predictability in when the fish will be stocked. So the stocking schedules are back up online. And we put them up earlier than ever so people can plan for their fishing experiences this spring. We also remind folks it's not just about the stocked waters. We have miles and miles and miles of great wild trout waters in Pennsylvania, and really encourage people to give them a shot. And if you go to our website, again, fishandboat.com, you can visit our Pennsylvania's best fishing waters. We have lots of tips for people about where they can get out. So again, one change that actually it's a return to normal is putting the stocking schedules back online. In terms of the volunteers helping us, we know that the people love to come help us carry buckets, help us float stock with the fish to spread them out. Last year, we abandoned that in the interest of public health and safety, and we just had our staff do it. And frankly, they did a great job. And we had people from across the agency, whether you're an administrative staffer or one of our attorneys or an engineer or whoever, everybody was out stocking fish. This year, we are inviting groups of select volunteers to help us. Our waterways conservation officers, they're our eyes and ears in the field. They know who the local sportsmen's groups are, who help them typically on an annual basis. We're reaching out to them to give us a hand again. So the fish will be in the water early. They'll be spread out. We'll let you know where they are, and it's going to feel a lot more normal and a lot like every other trout season once opening day rolls around.
So as of February, the week of February 15th, when we begin stocking trout, that becomes the new date in which those stocked trout waters are closed up until Mentored Youth Day and then through the opening day. Let's talk about another opportunity that's happening on impoundments, ponds, lakes, things like that, where trout are stocked between that time and opening day.
Yeah, so catch and release opportunities. So we know that increasingly people like the experience of being outdoors, and in fact, that's one of the things that the national research showed is people just wanted to be out, and it wasn't even about as much taking a fish home with you as it was just the act of fishing. So on those impoundments, you can practice catch and release. Other waters that we have are Keystone Select stock trout waters. Places that we know people want to get out early, you can practice catch and release. So we're, again, excited to bring those opportunities back. The fish will be in the water for the anglers. Mike, you mentioned Mentored Youth Trout Day. Another thing that we're really happy to do this year is to honor voluntary youth fishing licenses that were purchased last year to be used this year. I mean, it's no secret. It caught people by surprise last year. About 5,000 people had purchased a voluntary youth license, had it in their pocket, had it in their license holder, and they were ready to roll for the Mentored Youth Trout Day, and we didn't have it. So what we're going to do this year is we're going to honor any ones that were purchased for last year's Mentored Youth Trout Day. We'll honor them this year. So we think that's a way to give back to anglers, recognize and honor and respect the purchase that they made last year that they couldn't use for that activity. So please use it this year. If you didn't have one last year already, or if you're unfamiliar with the program, we opened trout season a week early for kids, and it's for kids under 16 and their adult mentor. To participate, the adult needs to be a licensed angler with a trout permit, and the kid has to either have a voluntary youth fishing license or youth permit. And you can find those on our website or through our mobile app. And I know we're going to talk a little about our new license system here soon.
Yeah, speaking of licenses, that's a great transition. So a few weeks ago, pretty exciting news. Some of us have been buying our fishing licenses online for years. It's convenient. It's a way to do it without leaving your house, which last year became something that was more of a necessity than a convenience, and people started doing it more than ever. But we launched, along with the Fish and Boat Commission, along with the Pennsylvania Game Commission, launched a new online license system called Hunt Fish PA. So I want to talk about some of the conveniences of that new system, some of the changes and improvements that users might notice when they buy a fishing license, a launch permit, or when they go in there to renew a boat registration.
Sure, yeah, Mike, and thanks for that. And it really is a great new system. For those of us who have been fishing for a long time, we can remember the old carbon paper system where you'd stand at the counter, fill it out, they'd rip it off, and I don't even know what ended up happening with those pieces of carbon paper half the time. But the system we've been used to with those yellow licenses, that was in place for about 15 years, and that was truly first generation technology. And our administrative staff will tell you that it was really clunky and cumbersome to use. The new system that you said, Hunt Fish PA, that we just rolled out, is accessible directly from our website, fishandboat.com, or through our mobile app, Fish Boat PA. A couple of the things that we really want to point out to anglers. One is that you don't need to display your fishing license anymore. That's a change that was made last year as a convenience for anglers. We know that, it's all about these things, right? You know that everybody just about has one of these in their pocket anymore, particularly the younger generation, and we wanted to make it as simple as possible. So now, as long as you have an image of your license downloaded to your phone, you're good to go, and you've got what you need in case you're stopped by one of our officers. You certainly still may display the license if you'd like, and that would minimize the chance of being asked for your license. We also have our fishing license buttons that are really popular. You can stick on your hat or on your vest. If again, one of our officers sees that, they'll know that you're a licensed angler and wouldn't have to have that interaction. But so the elimination of the display requirement and really the ease of downloading it onto your phone, that's really special about this. So you'll go on to fishandboat.com, the mobile app, Fishboat PA. It'll connect you right to that new license site, make your purchase, and save it right to your phone. So that's really cool, and we know it's been really popular. We also have an auto renew function. It's optional. If the people would choose to sign up for it, they'd be welcome to. And that way you can be all set to go on a year-to-year basis. We don't, a lot of magazine subscriptions and other purchases are done that way. Other states that we've spoken with have really found that to be a popular option. So anglers don't need to worry about it from year to year. Reminder that people can still purchase a multi-year license. I'm in my 4th year of a 5-year license. Those options are still available. And that's another thing that people like about that option to save it on your phone. You get that multi-year license, and the image is there. You can also go into the system and purchase or print out duplicate copies. Say you want to, make your purchase and then have one saved on your phone, put one in your tackle box, put one in your truck, stick it wherever in your wallet. You can print it out and have multiple copies. We know that's been really, really popular. A couple other features are being able to conduct multiple transactions at one time. You want to get your fishing license, your trout permit, your Lake Erie stamp, and then also you want to get a launch permit for 2 kayaks that you have. You can do that all in one transaction. And one thing that's really cool is you can get your hunting license and fishing license at the same time. So we've tried to bundle these things together, make it as user friendly as possible. But we also know that it's a new system and we're making improvements. And we are a customer service focused agency. And I would ask if anybody out there who has yet to use the system tries it out and sees something we could do better, let us know. We want to make the user experience as smooth and as seamless as possible. But we really think people will like it. If you want to continue to purchase at an issuing agent at your favorite sporting goods store, by all means, you can still do that and get out there and support those local businesses. And the system that you see here is the same system that they're using in the retail institutions. This just allows a little more ease at home, on the road. I can vividly remember meeting at the state capitol a couple years ago where a state rep held up the phone and said, wouldn't it be great if somebody could show up at Lake Wallenpaupack on the Friday night before Memorial Day weekend and get their license and be good to go the next day. But you can do that now. We do encourage you not to wait. And one of the beauties about having the system available, get it now. We really encourage people to get their license now and take advantage of all that Pennsylvania has to offer by getting your license as early in the year as possible.
And we're taking a look at what that new Hunt Fish PA system looks like for the user. So when you log in, gone is the old antiquated outdoor shop experience, which worked, but was, like you said, first generation technology. And what you're looking at now with the Hunt Fish PA system is streamlined, it's more modern, and has more options. One of the features that people will notice this year, which is a big talking point, and I think it's a question that we got earlier in the week, on Facebook during our law enforcement chat with Colonel Britcher, but I'll show you right now. So this is an old fishing license. This is the yellow fishing license. If you would have bought a fishing license, say in December, and you bought it at Walmart, your local tackle shop, Bass Pro Shop, this is what you would get. When the new system went into place, we switched the color, and so now you'll be getting this this fluorescent green colored license. So the question from a lot of folks was, "Oh no, I bought the yellow license. Is my green license, is that still valid? Is that, or I would like to have the green license. Is my yellow license still valid?" And the short answer to that is absolutely, it's valid. It doesn't matter what color your license is on. It just matters if it's a valid license. So
you got that right. Heck, we don't care if you want to use pink paper, but whatever. Just print it as long as you have that license. The color of the paper doesn't matter. We with the new system, we wanted to give it a new look, and that's going to be the same color for hunting licenses as well. And again, we came to that decision in partnership with the Game Commission. Mike said about some questions that we've had. One of the neat features that was added, and this is in part due to customer feedback. We launched the system initially, worked out some bugs, and then we put up a how-to video. And so if you're a little reluctant, think, man, I don't know if I want to try this, go onto the website, and there's a spot where you can do a really user-friendly video that walks you through all of the steps. So please don't be intimidated. Give it a shot. Tell us what you think. One thing you'll also note is that if you've purchased the license before, your customer identification number stays the same, and your information is loaded up already in the system. So we think it's as user friendly as could be. NIC, the system the company we're working with, serves multiple states, have a lot of experience. So I want to thank our administrative staff, our marketing staff, our IT staff, our partners at the Game Commission for launching this collaboratively. It did not happen overnight. And not only did it not happen overnight, but it happened with people working remotely from home, with the circumstances that we're all in. So this is, I think, quite an accomplishment in any year, but certainly a monumental accomplishment in 2020 into 2021.
All right. So one of the reasons, of course, that we're offering this virtual session today is to take some questions for you, Tim, and to answer them as best we can. So from Facebook here, related to the topic at hand, Dave would like to know, where does the fishing license increase stand?
Sure. So the cost of a license is the same this year as it has been for about 15 years. So last year, the legislature passed a law that delegated the authority to set fishing license fees to our Board of Commissioners with legislative oversight. There has been no decision as of yet about whether there would be an increase yet for 2022. Certainly the prices for 2021 are the same. They haven't changed. We're doing some analysis now about what we might need to do in 2022. The idea, though, behind any increase, when it eventually comes, would have it to be incremental. And the idea was to get away from the system that we're all used to for both hunting and fishing licenses, where you go a long time, you got to keep up with costs, and you have a large increase that drives people away. The goal long term is to just keep up with the cost of doing business. People don't realize that we don't receive any general fund tax revenue. So if all the trout that there are images of, the new license system, everything that we do on behalf of anglers and boaters are paid for by anglers and boaters. So it's in our best interest to minimize any increase, to only charge what we need to cover the cost of our programs. I tell our staff, and I mean it, we need to be able to look an angler in the eye and say, we're spending your money wisely. It's your dollars. We thank you for your purchase, and we're only going to spend it the ways that we think are in your best interest. So good news is the price of a license is the same this year in 2021 as it has been for the last several years. A lot of people like to buy a multi-year license to lock that in, and if you purchased a 3 or a 5 year license this year, and if there would be an increase in the future, you'd already be locked into that current price. So that's another reason that people really like that multi-year option, is to exercise the current price that we have in place, that again is the same it's been for about 15 years.
I know you wanted to talk a little bit about something that's going on in definitely the northern tier of the state, certainly down into some of the central part of the state, and maybe even some isolated areas in other corners as well down here in the southern portion of the state. Ice fishing. So we actually are getting a winter this year. last
We
year,
are.
last year was a little warm, in which lent itself to some great fishing in January and February. But this year, the ice fishermen are the ones that are making out. So let's go through a little bit of some of the things the message that you wanted to get out to the ice anglers right now, and maybe for people who are thinking about trying something new for the first time.
Sure. So I'd say, first of all, be careful, have fun, but be careful. And I'm really looking forward to getting out with one of our officers this weekend to accompany them on a patrol for some ice fishing hotspots in north central Pennsylvania. But again, one of the best places for information on ice fishing or anything else is our website. Again, fishandboat.com. Simply type in ice safety. It'll take you to a wealth of resources. One thing I've got here just as my own checklist is we've got a really great just one-page tip for ice fishing information. We've got an ice thickness guide that people can turn to. A couple big matters of public safety is one, just like it's best to have a buddy when you're out fishing or boating. Go with somebody else. Have a partner. Let someone know where you're going to be, but it's ideal to have somebody with you. Make sure that you've got the proper equipment along, and again, that checklist will go through the items that you should have. You want to have a flotation device, whether it's a personal flotation device cushion that you could have in case there'd be a problem or an accident. If I spun my computer around, you'd see a float coat that I have that I'm going to be wearing out on patrol. Those have really come down in cost and have gotten more affordable. With some sort of flotation device. Be smart about how you layer your clothing. We don't want to have cotton layers. Have something that's synthetic. Wool is going to keep you insulated. If you would have an accident. Ice awls are a tool that you can make at home and carry. There's a little thing that you can have that can save you if you go in the water and need to grab onto the ice. But again, go to fishandboat.com, type in ice safety, and you'll really get a lot of really helpful hints. Other thing is ice depth. Be very mindful of the thickness of ice. That ice safety chart will show you that you need at least 4 inches for one angler to be out there. And if you're going to be having a group activity, say family members, you certainly want it to be thicker than that. So be mindful of the ice depth charts. Also be mindful of areas where there may be feeder streams or springs into the body of water. You want to make sure that ice is safe and sound before you get out there. Also avoid dark honeycombed areas that are on the water that might suggest some ice that's not as thick as it should be. So have fun, be careful. Again, fishandboat.com, type in ice safety, and it'll be a great place to get you started.
And just to piggyback on some of that information and some resources for people who are looking for information, we always stress that safe ice is ice that you feel safe going out on, and maybe not being the first person to venture out. So if you see other people out there, then that's a good indication that things are safe enough to walk out and do some fishing. But because one of the more popular places to do ice fishing is at our state parks, we did receive some information on this topic from our friends over at the DCNR, who wanted to let us know that we could share information about their state parks winter report. If you go to their website, dcnr.pa.gov, in the state parks section, they have a winter report, and you can search by park, and you should be able to get some snow and ice conditions for those particular areas, at least as a heads up if you're planning to travel. So another resource. Yeah,
and Mike, and we're talking about ice safety, but just given the weather patterns that we've had the last few years, that can be so unpredictable. It may be 25 degrees today and going to snow 3 inches tonight, but 2 weeks from now it could be 60 degrees. And a reminder for viewers about our cold water life jacket requirement for November 1st through April 30th on all canoes and kayaks and all boats under 16 feet. Life jacket wear is mandatory. Most of our accidents happen in the summertime just because there's more activity, but disproportionately the fatalities happen in the cold weather months. You go into the water when it's cold, you have that involuntary gasp of air. Hypothermia kicks in before you know it. If you go in the water when it's cold and you're not wearing a life jacket, chances are you're not going to make it. So, again, it may be 60 degrees on a March day, and you think, man, I'm going to get that kayak out. Well, again, first of all, don't boat alone. But that water is still really frigid. And we know a lot of anglers like to fish from a boat on the opening day of trout season, which is awesome. That's a lot of fun. And we think more people than ever will be doing this, given the fact of how many boats were purchased last year. But when you do so, again, please wear your life jacket. It is the law. I have to say, last year we had 11 recreational boating fatalities in Pennsylvania. Fortunately, that was below our statewide average on an annual basis, but none of them, zero. Let that sink in for a second. None of the people who died in recreational boating accidents last year were wearing a life jacket. Just I got to tell you, if people don't remember anything that I said today or anything that's said this whole week through all these programs, if all you get out of this virtual outdoor expo is wearing your life jacket and having your family wear their life jacket, this was time well spent. So I guess I'll get off my soapbox, but please wear your life jacket.
It's good advice. It's good advice all times of year. Tim, a couple of questions related to ice fishing and winter fishing. So I do have the answer to this one, and maybe I'll just go ahead and read it because
Sure.
we had it was a recent item of discussion. Wes wanted to know what is with the jaw jackers. So what Wes is talking about is an ice fishing tool that people use. It's called a jaw jacker. It's basically a stationary rod holder that people are familiar with tip-ups, which is a legal device for ice fishing that you place over the hole. You can have multiple holes. When a fish bites on a tip-up, it pulls a loose spool of line down, and that's a legal device. You go over, you hand crank the fish back up to the surface. There's another device out there. One of them brand name is called a jaw jacker. There may be some other similar devices out there on the market, but it's an automatic hook set device. So this was a recent post from our Bureau of Law Enforcement related to jaw jackers. So since it's ice fishing season, people know the exact wording. They say, when ice fishing this season in Pennsylvania, please be aware that stationary rod holders that provide for a loaded rod when triggered, when sets the hook, are not currently legal for ice fishing within the Commonwealth, and that's under our Title 58 code, section 63.6 and 63.10. So that includes any device that mechanically sets the hook or jigs without the aid of the angler, such as the jaw jacker, automatic fisherman, Saiku, Gill-O-Tine, Quickset, and etc. Some other brands that may be out there. So the answer to that one is currently they're illegal. So if you have a jaw jacker, it is not a legal device for ice fishing in Pennsylvania.
I will say though, Mike, that we'll be having and we'll be advertising for this a meeting of our law enforcement committee, the Fish and Boat Commission. So our board of commissioners is the body that sets policy and ultimately adopts regulations. We are planning, and we'll post this, for public viewing, a meeting of the law enforcement committee here in the next couple of weeks, where we're going to be discussing this topic. We've gotten a lot of interest on it. We want to eliminate any confusion for anglers, and ultimately, have the board discuss, whether or not we ought to make a change in those regulations for next year. So we're ready for the next ice fishing season next winter.
Excellent. And another question related to winter fishing, and I think we answered this one before, but maybe Arthur missed it. He wants to know, can we ice fish for trout? Let me rephrase that. He's looking to know, essentially, since we're closing the stocked trout waters beginning February 15th due to stocking earlier, he thinks that's going to cut into ice fishing, and wants to know if he can continue to fish for trout, basically ice fishing. And the answer to that would be yes, you can continue, because the lakes are going to be a catch and release opportunity. So you don't ice fish on moving water. So that answers the question, Arthur. The streams are what are going to be closed for fishing, and lakes, ponds, or impoundments will remain. They are stocked trout waters, but they're going to be available for catch and release fishing through February 15th through the Ford Youth Day or the opening trout season. So I hope we answered that question. All right, so moving along here, Tim, we're talked about trout season. We've talked about ice safety, some kayaking, the increase in participation out there. A few years ago, you rated the Fisheries Commission's boating facility grant program. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that program, what it's all about, and who should be looking into that?
Yeah, so Mike, I'm really glad you asked about that. So we've talked a lot about fishing and boating here. With the explosion in interest in kayaking last year, and nationwide, but in Pennsylvania, you get images of Borough Park there in New Cumberland. A lot of municipalities with parks that or other properties that were along flowing waters were just overrun. I mean, they had people parking all over the place. They had people launching boats into the creeks, and so what our boating facilities grants provide is funding to primarily to municipalities, but also to nonprofit groups to either repair or renovate existing boat launches or install new ones. So I'd say if anybody is listening to this and think, man, I can picture, such and such park in such and such borough or township somewhere, man, what a great place to put a really simple unpowered launch in. This is a program for you. We take the money out of our boat fund. Again, we're very mindful that the revenue that we generate is provided by the anglers and boaters of Pennsylvania, and we want to put it back to work for you. One of the ways we can do that is by offering these grants up. Again, it's usually to a municipality, but it could be to a sportsman's club. Any place that has their property open to public access would be eligible for this. We do require a 50-50 match, which could be in kind. It doesn't need to be cash, but it helps us to spread the dollars out. And you can also match these dollars with, Mike mentioned DCNR, the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources is a really popular program that a lot of local governments take advantage of. You can match these dollar for dollar with DCNR grants, and in fact, we time them up such that the grant cycles can mirror each other. So again, if you're watching this and thinking of a place that could use a little improvement, talk to your township supervisor, talk to the borough manager, say, hey, have you heard about this program Fish and Boat Commission has, where you can get a new boat access? That's great. If you have a facility that maybe needs to be improved, and we know, I've actually personally seen this in a lot of older municipalities. You'll have an old boat ramp that maybe went down to the river that the fire company used to use 100 years ago, that's like an informal launch. Well, the municipality still owns it. With an investment, you could have a really nice local amenity. And it doesn't have to just be for unpowered boats. It could be for power boats as well. And you can use it for, if you need a walking path down to there, if there's parking issues. We also got a grant proposal this year, and we're real interested in how we can do this on our properties. On some places is boat cleaning stations, so we're not moving aquatic invasive species from one water body to another. So a lot of flexibility with how they can be used for those boating facilities grants. If that does sound like something you'd be interested in, please, again, go onto our website, contact us now. We'd be happy to come out and give you some advanced planning tips and help you to put the proposal together. We want something that's going to be safe, that's going to be durable, and meet the needs of the citizens there in your municipality or wherever else you might want to put one of these in.
Yeah, you can learn more about the boating facility grant program at fishandboat.com. And there's a description, as Tim just went over, about the program, who's eligible for that, what type of projects it covers, and what the responsibility is upon those applicants. But yeah, a great program that a lot of places have used and in fact come up with award-winning projects. And so, with more users out there on the water and people looking to get kayaks and canoes and paddle boards in the water, it also, they're going to come to your town if you have a great place for them to put in. And if they're coming to your town with those brightly colored kayaks that you like to talk about on top of the cars, that you just can't miss these days, then they're probably going to spend some money. And so it's probably a great investment.
Yeah, Mike, and also, back to that mobile app that we have, Fish Boat PA, that near me function we have. So if on that economic development front, if I'm thinking, man, I'd love to get people to that boat ramp in my town. Well, if you put a new one in, guess where it's going to show up? It's going to show up in the Fish and Boat Commission's mobile app. And next time somebody goes, clicking in, hey, where on the Clarion River or wherever else can I boat? And they find out, oh my gosh, here's a boat ramp in again, whatever borough it might be. It'll drive people there from like an economic development perspective. And that's, to get back to your original question, Mike, about, one of the reasons that, why are we so excited about this increase in participation. Fishing and boating, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry in Pennsylvania. It's no secret. I mean, there's a reason that you've got Cabela's here. There's a reason that you've got Bass Pro Shops. Those national retailers know that this is a hotspot for outdoor activity. One of the things that we did in our magazine last year is we featured Pennsylvania-based fishing tackle manufacturers. I mean, there's some tackle that's created with Pennsylvania's trout season just in mind. And so, yeah, it is big business. It's a lot of fun. And again, we're expecting just another banner year here in 2021.
We have a follow-up question to the catch and release regulations on the impoundments from Facebook. Dave would like to know, since you're opening catch and release fishing during stocking on lakes and impoundments through opening day, do you expect mortality to be higher under this new regulation? And I'll preface that, Tim, I'll let you answer how you like, but I also wanted to let people know at this time that a lot of the fisheries management type questions that we might receive at this time are very specialty type answers, and we look forward to providing another opportunity for questions like this that we might have someone who can really talk about it more in depth. It'll be during our wrap-up session this week, Friday at 1 p.m. So Tim's going to join us again. We're also going to have Andy Shields, a deputy director who has just decades of fisheries experience. So Tim, you can answer that question if you'd like, or we can defer till Friday and get Dave a better answer.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. One, we wouldn't be stocking the fish if we were concerned that they weren't going to make it through to opening day. So, we're not really that concerned about mortality. Another opportunity in addition to this Friday is we're having a Fisheries Summit, and we'll be putting more information out about this on February 20th. It'll be a day-long event. Again, it was really important for us to connect with anglers through this week-long exercise this week. But so I guess 2 Saturdays from now, on the 20th of February, we're going to have a statewide fisheries summit where we go over, we talked a lot about trout today just because of the time of year, but we'll answer questions like was just offered up. But we're going to talk about our phenomenal walleye fishery, muskies. I mean, you see the muskie on the wall here in my office. No, I didn't catch that. But our muskie fishery, other warm water fisheries, smallmouth bass, largemouth bass, panfish. Pennsylvania is, we're not just the Pennsylvania Trout Commission. There's lots of great fisheries that are available. And we thought, let's let the whole Commonwealth know what's out there in the coming year. So it's going to be a day-long fisheries summit on February 20th. Again, keep your eyes peeled on our website through social media for more details about that agenda that's forthcoming. But the question that was just offered, as well as many more, will be answered that day. We specifically picked it on a Saturday, hoping to get some even greater participation. So if you're interested in learning more about the breadth of what Pennsylvania has to offer in terms of all of our fisheries, please tune in on the 20th of February. I know I'm really, really looking forward to that event.
Tim, we're going to wrap things up here in just a few minutes. I want to thank you for spending so much time with us. As mentioned at the top of this live streaming opportunity, we're going to go about 45 minutes and open it up for some questions. If we haven't gotten to your question, it's either because we want to provide, it maybe wasn't appropriate for for this session. We would refer you if it was a law enforcement question or a biologist type question, that we'll try to get you an answer on those as we go. And again, to tune into our wrap-up session on Friday at 1 o'clock, same time here, just 2 days from now, we'll have some more experts on to address some of the lingering questions that we got throughout the week. But Tim, I thought one question that we got that was important is people are curious about how they make a public comment. So when the commission proposes a new regulation or wants to make a change, oftentimes people are hearing about it as it happens. They're not familiar with the process, which almost always involves multiple meetings before a decision is actually voted upon and passed. So if you would tell people the typical way to make a public comment, where they can find that information and how they can do it, and including the fact that right now things aren't exactly normal because of COVID-19.
Sure. So a couple different ways. And one, we have a new feature now that we're offering up for our website it's a regulatory tracker that sort of demystifies the regulatory process. So whenever we change a regulation, well, for most things, it requires 2 votes of our Board of Commissioners. And so that'll be put out as a proposed rulemaking and then offered up as a final rulemaking. And those will get posted in the Pennsylvania Bulletin. And admittedly, most folks don't know how to get to the Pennsylvania Bulletin. So, but that's legally where it gets posted. So we have a new tool now. It's called our regulatory tracker on our website, where we've even got a little thermometer there that shows, okay, here's what's been proposed. Public comments are being accepted for this duration. Here's how you go in. Here's how you make that public comment. Please know that everything we get, every comment that we get is shared with our Board of Commissioners, every single one of them. So they see them, I see them. They do absolutely get incorporated into the decision making. So we've got that new tool that's available. Whenever we take action, before the board takes action at our quarterly commission meetings, we'll post the agendas online. We'll put things out through press releases. One of the things that I know that we will do a better job of is making sure through our social media channels that people are tied into that regulatory tracker. So that gets you to a place where you could do it written comments. We also welcome verbal comments, and typically we'd be having meetings in our either meeting room here in Harrisburg or at another facility. In the absence of that, we are welcoming calls that people make to a telephone line. And so before any of the meetings of our board or our committees, take a look at our website. Whenever we put that, I talked about that law enforcement committee meeting that's going to be coming up. There'll be an opportunity for public comment, and we'll have a phone line that goes live for a predetermined time. People call in, we record those, and then we share those comments directly with our staff and our Board of Commissioners. Again, we work for the public. We want to hear what you think. Our biologists and the board use their best professional judgment, but please know that those decisions are informed by what we hear from the public.
Yeah, and if you're a frequent visitor to our Facebook page or our Twitter feed, and you see, maybe you're interested in some of the other content that we have on there, but if you see a post that says news release, and then it talks about the upcoming commissioner meeting, typically within that you might want to take, if you're interested in a certain topic, that's a great place to look. There's always a link to where you can make a phone call for public comment or how you can get there online. But typically, if you go to fishandboat.com and search, just in the search bar, public comment, it'll lead you to the right place with that online form. So again, that was something that has come up, and I'm glad that we addressed it, because as you said, the more people that have a voice, the better decisions that you and the board can make as an agency. All right, Tim, I want to thank you so much. Executive Director Tim Schaefer has spent the better part of an hour with us here, streaming on Facebook Live as part of our virtual Outdoor Expo. Remember, you can find answers to many of your frequently asked fishing and boating related questions over at fishandboat.com. If you enjoyed this presentation on Facebook, YouTube, or wherever you found us today, please like it and share it and help us spread the word about our virtual Outdoor Expo. Our next session will happen tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., where we'll be talking about employment with the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission, and we'll interview our Director of Human Resources, Maxine Johnson. So, Tim, the floor is yours for some final thoughts before we say goodbye.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody. Thank you for getting out in 2020, just in unbelievable numbers. Thanks for sticking with us in 2020, 2021. There's going to be plenty of great fishing to be had in Pennsylvania this year. Visit our mobile app, Fishboat PA, website, fishandboat.com. Take advantage of that new license system. It's easier than ever. Don't forget, now you can just stick it right on here, make it super, super easy for customers. Reminder for our Mentored Youth Trout Day in 2021 on March 27th, that if you did purchase voluntary youth license for your kid or grandchild or niece or nephew last year, we'll honor it again this year. Thank you for your cooperation as we try to give people, the best opening day experience possible that we can. Thank you for your patience as we put the fish in the water. Take advantage of all Pennsylvania has to offer. We mentioned our Fisheries Summit that's coming up, so you can learn about more than just trout. And then the last thing I'll say is wear your life jacket. Again, that's the number one thing you could do to make sure that you get home safely to your friends and family after a great day on the water.
All right, well said. Thank you so much, Executive Director Tim Schaefer, for being the guest here today during this session. I also want to thank our producers, Andy Desco and Dee Fisher, behind the scenes, for making things run smoothly today. All right, Tim.
And thank you, Mike. Thanks for what you're doing this week.
All right, appreciate it, Tim. And for everyone, we'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. for Employment with the Fish and Boat Commission. Have a good night.